Well, at the exact same time I was in Washington, D.C., fighting to protect our librarians from a record number of threats, physical intimidation, violence. At the exact same time that I was in D.C., libraries here were being forced to close their doors and be evacuated because of bomb threats. And I think, unfortunately, that's symbolic of what we're seeing. Literally, our bill was meant to protect libraries and librarians. So to see this happen is terrifying, it's horrifying, it's dangerous. We should all be sickened by it, and we should be putting our librarians on a pedestal. The purpose of our bill is to fight for our democracy, to fight for the freedom to learn, to allow kids to have access to different worldviews, to understand about empathy, understanding, respecting people's perspectives. So I think seeing some of the back and forth yesterday was concerning, was troubling. It's also why I think people are sick and tired of Washington, D.C. politics.
So where do we go from here after all these bomb threats? What's next?
We're going to continue. We're going to continue to do everything we can to fight for the freedom to learn. We're going to fight for our librarians. Again, our bill passed in Illinois. I think we're fortunate to live in a state where there is respect for our librarians, a respect for the ability of librarians who have the advanced degrees to determine what books should be in circulation, versus a random parent that is going to try and make a decision for an entire community. I think the bigger question is what happens outside of Illinois. And how are other states dealing with this in other communities? And again, to me, this is about fighting for our librarians, but it's also about fighting for parental rights. I've got 3 young daughters at home. There are certain books that my wife and I don't feel are age appropriate for them. But I could never fathom a world where I would tell someone else's family or parents what books their kids should or should not be reading.
What's been the response from librarians or libraries, especially the ones that have had these bomb threats?
It's been, well, before the bomb threats, there's been an outpouring of support for everything that we're trying to do. I think just the fact that someone is out there advocating for them, understanding the challenges they face. Again, this is not something that I raised in my head and said I want to be a part of. This is something that came to our doorstep. I traveled the state when I got elected. We talked to librarians. They told us that they're being forced to close their doors because of these threats. It's very difficult to recruit librarians because they don't want to be librarians anymore because of these physical threats of violence. And in our neighboring states, they're even being threatened with charges of felonies if they don't remove a book. So it's scary. And then since the bomb threats, it's horrifying. They already have anxiety. They already have these issues. They're already looking over their shoulder on their way to work. And now they're being evacuated, it seems, on a monthly basis. We should all be ashamed.
What do you recommend libraries do, and people who work there and people who visit there?
I think, again, unfortunately, we live in a world where everyone has to be vigilant. I would first commend our librarians for having the courage to continue to go to work. Hopefully none of this stuff plays out, but this is what happens when the rhetoric gets heated. I think it's important, it's incumbent on all of us, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, to condemn these dangerous attacks.
Any leads on the bomb threats? We've reached out to police, they haven't said anything. Any leads on any of these threats as far as arrests and any additional security measures that are going to happen at libraries?
I can't speak to that, not because I don't want to, but that's a law enforcement question. I don't want to step out of my lane, and I'm hopeful that they find those that are responsible. And it's, again, more fundamentally, it's crazy to me. I grew up going to libraries with my brothers. It was a safe haven. It was a place where you were safe to read and be free and check out books and explore new worlds. And just the thought of them being evacuated, it makes me want to cry.
Anything else you want to say about that, or any changes people might see or security measures at libraries?
I think we will, again, depending on the location, I think we're seeing municipalities, Secretary of State, police all come together to figure out a way to protect as many people as possible and to deal with and respond to these bomb threats. So I think you'll see more of that. And again, from my perspective, the fact that we have to have this conversation it's deeply depressing.